Hi, my kindergarten art friends. I'm so happy to see you again. I just wanted to give you some more ideas if you are someone who already started on your cherry blossom project. And if you weren't sure how to get started, I want to go over that as well so that we're all together and everyone feels like they could do the project well. And I just wanted to share a little bit of my own inspiration of why I chose this project. I love cherry blossoms. When I see them in the spring, they make me so happy and I feel like finally spring has arrived. And one thing that I've been checking out online that I've actually never been able to go to myself just because the timing hasn't worked out is this beautiful spring celebration for the cherry blossoms down at the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens. And from what I see online, they have shows and they have music to go and different kind of performances to go along with celebrating nature and the cherry blossoms themselves. So I would love one day to get down there and see that. So I hope that you enjoyed the cherry blossom tour as much as I did. And today we're going to do a little more focusing on how we can add to our artwork, how we can go through the steps, and how also we can use different materials or different medium to be able to work on the same project. Because right now we all have different things at home. So I want everyone to feel like they have something that they can create based on what they have in their art supplies. So that's what we'll focus on today. So let's take a look. I started this sample. It's not finished at all, but I wanted to show it to you. So in case you're not sure how to get started, you have an idea. So I wanted to provide this base just so you see what we're working with and how it will kind of end up. And then I will teach you each of the pieces. So you have a few options. One thing I thought would be the easiest to start with is you can see that I just made circles on my page. I used oil pastels, which are they're squishy, almost like a crayon. And what I can do with those is I can lay them into circles, but then I can blend them out. So I know that we don't, even before this, until I grabbed some oil pastels for home, I didn't have them at home either. So I just wanted to provide you this as one choice. You don't have to use that if you don't have it. So here's the oil pastel. You can see that I used my finger to blend everything. And so now it looks a little more like it's that puffy shape of the cherry blossom. You can also do something similar with crayons. So I wanted to show you that also. So if you take your pink crayon, you can go ahead. I'm going to make just another little circle over here just to show you. Okay. So I'll make my circle with my crayon. Okay. Again, the base shape is always going to be a circle. And then what you can go ahead and do is you can get an eraser and you can take the eraser, and I've talked with some of you about how to do this. You can take the end of it and just gently erase a little. Now, one thing I will say is that it does kind of stick to your eraser, so you'll have to have a special art eraser just so it doesn't make a mess on any of your classwork. I don't want that to happen. But you can see if I keep working at it and I keep adding some more and erasing some more, I'm getting pretty close to that same effect of the pastel. So you can do the same thing with crayon. The other thing with crayon you can do is you can pick a couple different colors of pink and then you can layer them on that way. So you'll see what I'm doing is I'm taking a darker pink on the inside, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try and find my lightest pink for the outside. And that way it also is nice blending too. So that's another choice, another option that you have. If you like, you can also, like you can see here, I'm kind of going with bumpy lines around that circle. So it almost gives that idea of the petals of the blossom too. So that's another choice that you have. Another thing I wanted to share with you is that you can use watercolors if you have them at home. I just have a tray, like the regular tray. Here it is. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just gently going to dip my brush in my water just a tiny bit because I do want to have control. I'm using a control technique. I want to control how much pink I'm putting on that page. So I'm just blending a couple of the pinks on my palette, and I'm just going to go ahead in a spot where I don't have a blossom yet so I can show you. And I'm going to just start putting some color down. Now, as you can see, I probably actually put too much water even on my brush. So I'm going to tap it out a little and dry it a little bit. And then I'm going to go back in and try and pick up some more of my paint. Okay, so that happens sometimes. Should have just done a little tiny dip. So let me see if I can get that. That's better. Okay, a little more controlled. So as you can see, I'm just dabbing because I want to kind of create the same texture as I would for the blossom. You know, the blossom opens up and it has all the petals on it. So my little dabbing technique here is going to make that same pattern, that same texture. Okay, but I am still I'm trying to keep to that circular shape because that's kind of the outside shape of that flower. So you can see that as well. Okay, so I've got a few different ways I can lay that out. Another trick I want to give you is with colored pencils. Now, these colored pencils I like, but I will say that they're harder to blend. So what I did was I chose 3 colored pencils that are all pink. And what I can do with those is I can layer them to make them interesting. So again, I'm going to find a spot where I haven't done any drawing yet. And I'm just kind of making little scribbles, almost little circles. And I'm keeping with that circular shape. And I'll start with the darkest on the center. Then I'm going to work my way out, adding some other colors, other pinks. So it almost will look like some cotton candy, almost I'm thinking of with this texture and the colors and everything. And then another color there. So you can see I'm layering the colors and it gives a little more interest and emphasis, okay? So after you've decided what you want to do as far as your medium, which means you want to use crayons, you want to use watercolor, you want to use colored pencils, and you can go along with me there, then we're going to draw the branches. And that can be, you could do it first with pencil if you want, but if you're feeling super confident, you can jump on in with Sharpie. So I'll leave that up to you. If you feel like you're really good at drawing the lines, jump right in with the Sharpie. So what I did was I looked at my blossoms, my cherry blossoms, and I decided where there was a group of them or a cluster, I would try and make a branch in that spot. So for example, over here, I have a little group. So I decided, well, you know what? These blossoms would be hanging out on this branch. So what I did was I just went through and I created that branch right in between those blossoms that are there. Then I went to this group over here and I did the same thing. Just a line there. Then I did the same thing over here. And then I went over here and down below. And all I was doing was just connecting the blossoms. That's the whole goal. Wherever you see a group of blossoms, draw a little line and then we'll keep connecting. Now, the only tricky part is that by the end of this, you want to make sure that you have the trunk of the tree. So after you've created all your little branches, you want to make a bigger branch that will connect those little pieces. And then you want to have one larger branch towards the center like I did here, and that will be your trunk, okay? Now, as far as the kanji script for that word sakura that I taught you on the slides, this actually, it looks really complicated. When I was looking at it online, I thought to myself, how am I going to draw this? So I looked at one step at a time and I looked at the big marks or shapes that I could see. And then I noticed that everything else was just kind of a little detailed. It wasn't too tricky. So basically what I did was I took a little corner of a lunch bag, the brown paper bags. If you don't have that, you can take a regular white piece of paper and you can color it and make it tan. That's another thing you can do. Just go over it with a tan crayon like this, okay, on white paper. Shade that in. You could even draw a box on the papers, okay? I just wanted it to kind of look like parchment, where you would typically see this drawing done in the past. And then you can always go over with Sharpie, so we'll go over that crayon. So I'm going to show you now how I created this kanji word, or this Japanese script word for sakura, which means cherry blossom. So the first thing I noticed, if you look, this is the shape of a T. So I basically went through and I went down like this and across like that to make the T. Then I noticed it's almost like an upside down V shape. So that's what I did. I made the upside down V, just like that. Then I went here and I noticed there's just 3 marks up top. One is a little curved, one is straight, one is curved the other way, okay? And then I went across like this, almost another small T right here. Okay, another curved T. And then I went across like this, a little bit of a curved line, and across like this. So it's actually, this part's almost like an X, if you notice that. So we have almost like some of our letters in here, T's, X, so we can think of those shapes as we draw that. So I hope that this helps you get started. And I hope that if you did already get started, maybe if you did crayon, maybe you could try colored pencil and adding some other things. The best thing I think to do on this is to actually, as I'm looking at my own piece of art, I'm noticing I was kind of sticking with one type of medium or one type of thing to create my art with, crayon or colored pencil or something like that. But to be honest with you, the thing I like best is mixing it up. I'm noticing I like how the oil pastel looks one way. I like how my colored pencil looks a different way. So you can feel free to experiment and try different things with that. The last thing I would say is if you're done with this part, you can even try adding a background. You can try adding some sky. So you can go ahead in with your blues and you can create a background. So as if this were at a garden show or at the botanical gardens, you could start creating a sky in the background, shading in your sky. You could add in some grass below. And one thing, if you do decide to do the background, one thing I'd love to see is if you do decide to do the sky and maybe the grass, see if you can blend out as many colors as you can. So as you can see, I'm picking a couple different blues because I want to add some interest and mix those colors so it has an interesting look. Because if you look at the sky, it really does have a blend of different blues. And same thing with the grass. If you look at the grass, it has a blend of different greens. So you can create that down here. Okay. And again, layering as much as you can. All right. So I really hope this helped you get started. If you need to rewind or pause, you can do that as many times as you need. So that way you can come back to this anytime you would like to. Thank you so much for joining me. I am so happy that you could be together with me for our art lesson today on one of my absolutely favorite topics. And I'll see you again soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.